cafe that's still there.
We were able to look at stills from the film, and all that stuff was still out there,
Yeah.
And the restaurant itself hadn't changed very much. I mean, it is now an Indian food restaurant, and from what I can see, it has been for a few years now. I feel like they pretty much just turned the cameras on and used what was there.
Yeah, I don't think they had any budget for sets. Nothing. They just did it all on location.
Well, according to Allison Anders, they didn't even have the budget to put a second comma in the title, gas food lodging.
I'm one of the best investigative reporters I think in the world today.
What a great filming location this was, because everything was right on top of each other. I think you have to go very far to film the scene.
Yeah, it wasn't that big.
We found the site where the trailer was. What really helped us recognize the site of the trailer was that there's a dead tree, a very unique looking dead tree that you see in the movie.
And it was dead in the movie too.
Yeah, and it's still there.
there.
Yeah. The trailer that's sitting in that spot now, it was replaced by something that looked of the same era.
And the laundromat?
I don't know if the laundromat was the same. I've not...
We haven't confirmed that yet.
Yeah, we found a laundromat that had a similar layout. The Sun Cinema where she's watching the movies. That was not filmed inside the real Sun Cinema, but the outside was such a perfect outside. We found that it had most recently been a hair salon, which it's not anymore. So the building is vacant now, but the outside looks, there's no question. Yeah.
That same building.
Really cool to see that building. The site where the taco restaurant was is now a Denny's.
Right.
But we were able to find, because there was a tower across the street, and so we were able to identify the exact shot there. And we were also able to find the storefront window. There's two scenes in the movie where Shade walks past where Darius works, and he's in a storefront putting up displays, and they have some interaction. A lot of stuff happening between the glass too. Another theme in the movie I just thought about. People watching each other through glass.
And
so,
like Trudi and Dank when he leaves his thermos.
Yeah. And the baby at the end.
The baby at the end.
I was like, I think we can drive around and find this storefront. But we had seen one. It was like when we first pulled into that part of town, I was like, I think that's the storefront. And you were like, I don't know. That's just the first storefront that we saw. So we went back and we were sitting there trying to figure it out. And I pulled up a picture of the storefront in the movie. And the still that I found, you could see through the glass what was on the other side of the street. And I was like, well, what? Okay, if that's reflecting through the glass, and that would be right here. We're parked here. What's here? And I was like, it's what you can see through the glass.
Thing. Yeah, it's like angels came down. And,
yeah. Yeah. And then when we got close and got up and looked at it, definitely the same storefront. So that was really cool.
Yeah, she found it. Should have listened to her.
We drove to Rockhound Park, which was gorgeous.
Which is real, yeah.
And they mentioned that it's referenced in the movie.
They shot some there, too. It's just 10 minutes up the road.
Very close, beautiful. The Weed Mart, we met a very friendly, actually called the Weed Mart.
Yeah, we went in by accident.
Of course, yeah.
I thought they sold weed.
The guy was like, welcome to the desert.
Welcome to the desert.
We also found there's a bowling alley in the movie, which has been closed down, but I was able to find some archival newspaper articles from the early 80s. So we found the site where the bowling alley actually had been.
Because that's like one of the only things where the thing was actually gone, because everything else is like still there.
Well, let's talk about the movie a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Back in 1992, for the first time I saw the underrated, gentle indie classic, Gas Food Lodging. This was Allison Anders' 1992 directorial debut. In the film, it has a fictionalized name, Laramie, New Mexico. But Deming was actually the town that was used for Laramie. And it was just one of those things that always stayed with me. You saw the film for the first time. I think as we were getting ready to go to the trip, I kept telling you, no, if you're going to appreciate Deming, you really have to watch this movie first. So tell me, what were your initial thoughts on this film?
To me, the desert was a character. It's basically about her coming of age, and then at the end, it kind of leaves you in an unexpected place.
I almost think it's a reductive to call it a coming of age story, because I feel like it's not that formulaic trite story that you think of when you hear that phrase. And the mother is played by Brooke Adams. The mother is kind of shut down and going through the motion. She's just waiting for the next shift or the next paycheck. Trudi, the older sister, the one played by Ione, is kind of at a crossroads in her life. She's kind of on a nowhere bound path of rebellion at the beginning. And then there's the youngest daughter, Shade, played by Fairuza, and she's kind of the quiet observer who's kind of lurking in the shadows, where Trudi rebels and the mother shuts down. I think what we see with Shade is that she uses her emotional fantasy life, and escapism as her means of dealing, but also comes to see reality on its own terms. She's the one who really sees life for what it is. The men here they're not rescuers, they're not saviors, they don't come and fix everything for these women. I think life is better for them for having known them, they help them, but they're not there to fix or
they're not heroes.
And I think the best gift that they give these women is the gift of being seen, for who they are. There's a theme of these sort of outsider men who are the ones who intersect with these female characters. This is a movie that's great with economy of scene because some of these men, they don't have a lot of scenes per se, but I think they make a strong presence, the town itself, it kind of creates its own world because I think what it captures is both the beauty and the isolation of living in this kind of nowhere town in the middle of the desert. It's savage, it's indifferent, It's beautiful, but it can literally kill you, as it does for one character, Trudi. Early on, this male character, one of the outsider men characters, comes into her life. Talk about him a little bit.
Dank,
yeah.
he reminded me a little bit of Johnny Depp because of the hat he was wearing and stuff.
Oh, yeah, I can see
that little look he was working for a while.
Yeah.
He just kind of drifted into town. She happened to notice him.
And he happened to notice her.
And he happened to notice her. And turns out he had this weird hobby that
he's a geologist. I don't think that's going to give too much of the plot away.
Yeah, he seemed like an amateur geologist. It's like
he does describe it as his work at one point.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of vague.
Okay. He might be a little amateurish in a way, which kind of brings about his ending. He introduces Trudi to these rocks that when held under
ultraviolet
light.
Well, he saw something in her that other people didn't see necessarily.
Yeah.
Just like his ultraviolet light.
She sees something different in the world and in herself. Now, it doesn't go the way you think it's going to go, He does get her out of the desert and into a better life, but not in the way that she would have thought. In the beginning, the Shade character is really looking for magical fixes or wants to put herself in the role of fixing things for everybody. And then with the mother's arc, everything isn't magically better for her at the end, but you get the sense that she's in a better place than she was. She's in a slightly better place.
She has someone to help her cope with it.
Yeah. So that character, Hamlet, her paramour, he's another character who ends up being not what he seems. He's kind of presented as sort of a goofball and an eccentric. He does turn out to be noble in the end, And the movie doesn't make it as easy as he's Mr. Right or he's going to fix everything, but and he's with them. I think he's what Nora needs too. I mean, she needs somebody.
It seemed like it, yeah.
And then there's another male character associated with Nora. In the very beginning, we're introduced to a character who you get the sense she's had a long-term kind of off-again, on-again affair with. He's married. He's played by Chris Mullicky from Twin Peaks, so it was always really fun for me to see on camera. He's trying to entice her to, kind of re-spark the affair. You get the sense that maybe at one point she would have because she was lonely enough. But, she's even too tired to do that anymore. She knows it's not going to really...
Well, it's not fixing anything for her. It's just prolonging the inevitable.
Yeah. So she shoots him down. But then there's a later sequence where Shade, who starts the movie on this mission to help her mother find a man. She thinks that'll solve everything.
Unbeknownst to her mother.
Yeah, unbeknownst to her mother. She observes him out in public, sees him, and thinks... And it's interesting because one of Shade's characteristics, one thing that frames her in the movie, is that she loves these old Mexican cinema films, like Golden Age films that play in the Spanish theater in town. And so she's kind of looking at him from a distance, imagining it like one of her movies. And he's got some of the costume on. He's got his cowboy. He's kind of got that cowboy costume. He's got his fancy boots and his hat and the bolo tie. Leaning into that fake cowboy, it kind of goes back into that theme of identity and performance. And so when Shade sees him, she's looking at all these external things and kind of romanticizing him as this cowboy that would come and save her mom and be perfect for him. So she invites him to dinner to kind of do a blind date, fix up with her mom, not knowing that they know each other.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah. But even that, that scene is kind of played for humor. But at the end, when he and Nora are saying what you do believe are going to be their final goodbyes, there's something kind of poignant about that. It's an affecting scene.
Well, it actually turned out to be a very nice finial for their relationship. So in a way, she took something that was going to be probably worse than it was and made it better, but
Had no idea
had no idea she was doing it,
Yeah. And then we get into Shade and the men in her life. Well, let's save James Brolin for last, right?
Most people do.
Okay.
I'm looking at you, Babs.
Loves that man.
She watches every episode, by the way.
Yeah. Hi, Babs.
Yeah, well, James Brolin, we'll come back to him.
So there's two young male characters, two peers of Shade's that she intersects with throughout the film. The first one is, we see her in the beginning with her friend Darius, who, I think you said he kind of represents the misfits.
I know him well.
Yeah. He's constructed his identity around performers who are also constructed identities. His walls are just a hodgepodge of pop culture he's grabbed from different places. We've got the David Bowie and all the great gender bending glam rock.
2 Alice Cooper posters.
He's got 2 Alice Cooper posters.
Which I was impressed with that.
And so in the early scenes when we see he and Shay talking, he has this very performative identity that he's kind of created. He gives this speech that, again, only a teenager could say with a straight face and think was really deep. One of the conceits of his character is that he has this crush on Olivia Newton-John. That's supposed to be his dream woman. They've got Xanadu posters in the background. In his naivete, he sort of grouped Olivia Newton-John with his glam rock heroes. So he's idolizing her, and he gives this speech about how she represents, it's this whole fantasy he has of dark, erotic female sexuality. He compares it to Eve offering the apple to Adam, and he's saying this stuff that's supposed to sound really edgy and deep, and Shade's just
she was totally invested.
Thinking
and it's talking about Olivia Newton-John, who was fine, of course, but
having this kind of dangerous femme fatale.
Like she was for a minute in Greece.
Yeah. Maybe he took that to heart. He's projecting this whole dark fantasy he has of female sexuality on Olivia Newton-John and building her up as his dream girl, and it's does he want to be Olivia Newton-John? Is this more of an aesthetic appreciation that he has for her? But on the other hand, if you watch the scene with Shane and Darius in the beginning, he is being very sexually provocative with her in a way where I think he knows he is, it comes across as flirtation. He's trying to push some buttons there. She takes Trudi's advice to approach a seduction with him.
I couldn't believe she took Trudi's advice.
And their Shade again is trying to be somebody she's not. She's taking the script from somebody else. And she's basing her identity there around Darius's fantasy that he's projected. So she dresses up like Olivia Newton-John and Xanadu. It doesn't go the way that she expects. It ends up being a disappointment and an embarrassment for her. And I think that's because it was always meant to be a fantasy,
Yeah.
And Shade didn't belong in his fantasy ever. But I love that they left it ambiguous. I love that.
That's interesting.
You don't always get that closure in real life.
Well, yeah, that's one of my gripes with movies and things is that it sometimes explain too much.
And Allison Anders also said that she and Donovan Leitch, who is both Ione Skye's brother, and they're both the children of the singer Donovan.
That's what is the name.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you think
Donovan's daughter?
Doesn't she look just like him though when you think
Well, I hadn't thought about it, but because I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Her dad sang with Alice Cooper.
Well,
on Do You Know Our Babies.
There you go. I don't know if he was the best dad to those two, but
well,
so that the actor and Allison Anders had kind of talked about Darius, and they decided that they didn't want to have it answered for sure whether or not that he was gay or not. That they
and I think that was the right call.
Yeah, I remember watching this back in 1992 and thinking, really, it could be set in any decade. I mean, it's there's a lot of things about it that feel timeless in a good way.
Yeah, because the desert and that town pretty much just look the same.
Yeah,
the desert looks the same.
Yeah, and the town looks the same. In the scene with Darius, and then in scenes with each of the other female characters, they each get one scene where they say something in response to something that a man says to try to make them feel better. Like, well, that doesn't help. Or he's trying to say, it's not you, it's me. And then she's like, that's not helping. I love that they took the time to do that with each of the men. They get their moment where they're trying to do the cliche savior thing and it's not working.
For instance, Hamlet.
Hamlet.
I said Hammett because of that movie. Hamlet. He's kind of Joe Cool as long as he's in control. The first time she shows up for the crisis, he no longer knows what to say.
And so he says something really trite and cliched, and she rightfully tells him, like, that doesn't help. The second male character of importance in Shade's story is Javier. The first couple times we see Javier is in situations where other characters are making racist commentary about him. And it's interesting with Shade because she does have this kind of earnestness to her. There's nothing cynical about that character. There's nothing ironic about her. But you see very clearly that she knows the way he's being treated is wrong and she feels bad about it. But these are situations where she's not quite in a place in her identity where she's able to speak up. What becomes really great about Javier is that, first we kind of see him through this lens of how everybody else is seeing him, and then we see the real Javier.
And then here comes Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah, leaving her rejection from Darius. She's kind of slumping in her Olivia Newton-John. She's got the blonde wig and these big platform shoes and like sparkly. And then a tumbleweed blows past, and it's.
I laughed out loud at the tumbleweed.
That visual is fantastic, And I guess that scene is probably pretty remembered because I know I've seen that as a meme. There's a scene where, in that scene, he's kind of chastising her about the way she's dressed and that he likes her the way she normally looks. That's kind of where that gift of being seen starts to come into play. Mm-hmm. And one of the best scenes in the movie is when Shade first goes to his house for the first time. It's such a contrast from Shade's living environment. This open, airy home. There's like prayer candles and these kind of shrines and botanica type stuff. And it's really celebratory. It turns out that he lives with his seemingly single mother, much like Shade, who is deaf. And Javier plays music very loudly and the mother dances with the vibrations on the floor. The way that the mother communicates with Shade and the way that she's able to communicate with Javier. What I love about that is that contrast between Shade's environment where everybody's talking and nobody really knows how to reach each other. And then this environment where they literally aren't speaking to each other, but yet there's this rich, vibrant communication.
And you feel like you know something now about Javier and why he's special. Yeah. Because this is how he grew up.
There's no subtitles for the Spanish language. And I kind of love that in that scene because this is where Javier first really expresses his feelings for Shade, but we can't.
Unless you happen to speak Spanish.
Yes, us non-Spanish speakers in the audience. Shade's conceit of escaping to the Mexican cinema and watching these, films which are from a whole different era, but they speak to her and this is really her safe place. What I love about that is like there's a part where she's talking about her favorite screen actors, who's a fictional character that was created for the movie. She expresses everything that Shade feels, she communicates it, but Shade literally can't understand what she's saying.
We got it without knowing what it was.
The scene is perfect just the way it is.
Yeah, if it happened that way because they couldn't afford subtitles, that's just serendipity. All these scenes were shot for the movie, too. They weren't clips from existing movies. They actually took the time to shoot these in black and white.
But the older characters that are in those movies were actual golden era.
Somebody knows who these people are, and they're really excited about it,
Now, James Brolin.
Okay. Now, James Brolin was good in this.
Yeah.
And I got nothing against James Brolin, but he was good in this.
It's a different role for him, and it's not what you would expect. He's kind of imperfectly perfect.
I guess you'd say he was playing against type.
Yeah, I think so.
It didn't look like it at first, but it kind of turned out to be like that.
Yeah, he's kind of the erstwhile deadbeat dad who comes back into town, and Shade has no memories of him.
She did see some film footage of him holding her as a baby. Again, film, and
And we see her throughout the movie looking at the film, like holding it up to the light so she can see it.
Incidentally, I thought it was interesting, just to jump back for a second. Dank takes Trudi to a cave because he wants to look at some rocks, and it's nighttime. He doesn't want her to go in because it might not be safe. So she said, I'll wait in the Jeep. But eventually she gets tired of waiting and she goes in. When she walks into the chamber he's in, she's got a handful of light sticks. And it becomes clear that he left the white stick trail so he could find his way back out of the cave. Yeah. And she just gathered them all up and said, hey, you dropped these,
And he kind of smiles.
And he kind of smiles and says, okay, thanks,
Yeah.
And I thought it might be a little bit of foreshadowing, too.
Yeah.
Well,
there's so many great images in that cave scene. First of all, the Dayglow cave with the light and everything. And
yeah, it was like being locked in Spencer's overnight.
And the scorpion in the jar.
Yeah, scorpion in the jar. Someone brought that to the set, I suppose. I got a feeling that the tumbleweed, too, was serendipity.
It's a different role for him. He's not what her fantasies had kind of led her to believe he would be. But in some ways, I think James Brolin was really great for that because he still had these kind of matinee idol, almost like if you had a fantasy hero rescuer dad, you'd want it to look like him. On paper, he looks great, And even in the first, scene or two where we meet him, he seems like he could be,
Yeah, he's kind of there for her at the first scene.
Yeah.
The stakes aren't high, but he's there for her.
It's not so much that he's a horrible person, he's not a monster. None of the men in this movie are monsters, they're not. They're disappointing and they're weak, but they're not monsters. He's just kind of, there's no there, and
that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
There's that moment in the truck where he tells her, I ain't shit. That one line was the big reveal between him and his daughter. In case you're wondering, I know you've thought about me a lot over the years and you've wondered, I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag now. I ain't shits. And I got the feeling that she believed him and understood. Not that it was a bad thing. You are what you are. She was like, oh, but you're okay. I didn't get the feeling that she judged him because of that. She just kind of knew where they all stood,
Well, you get the sense at the end of their last scene together that might really be the last time that they see each other.
It did, yeah.
Yeah, and
that's why, and I mentioned this, and I wanted to bring it up here real quick, is that whole thing about borrowing the money. She went to him ostensibly to borrow $50 for something. But he asked her the amount, and she said, it's a lot. And he's like, $50. And we think about it, go, well, $50 isn't that much. But to these people at that time, $50 was asking a lot, And he kind of goes, okay, but his new wife or live-in lover said, can I talk to you? They have to go. But anyway, my point is, her borrowing that money was a thinly veiled chance for him to emotionally, to release his guilt. It was almost symbolic. I feel like the character herself was saying, you pay me this $50 and we'll call it even. And it was an act of mercy, because that way he doesn't have to suffer the guilt from here on out. He can be at peace with it. I think that she kind of felt he'd get that, and he kind of got that and gave her the money. And they just called it square. To me, that's what that scene was about.
And that last scene, where we find out what did happen to Dank, and the way that that's filmed. What I love about that, first of all, is the kind of hippie couple who sort of the desert. They're not of the town. You almost get the sense that they could even be like desert spirits and not real people. It's such a surreal scene.
I looked at the scene later and I thought to myself, there's really nothing in that scene that couldn't be just that way if they weren't real. They're almost like an ex machina, They don't come in and save the day, but they do come in and spill beans.
Symbolic of the desert giving her the answer,
Yeah, because they were the desert, basically.
Yeah, they were of the desert, very much.
Certainly of the desert, yeah.
And
in their own pace, They were both moving at a slower pace than her.
Yeah. And the way that they delivered the information to her, again, like that indifference of nature, they tell her what she needs to know, but it's not necessarily in a delicate or a gentle manner, just a very matter of fact. And then the last shot is her literally disappearing, being eaten up by the desert. It's a beautiful, beautiful last shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I think of that movie, the beginning of 90s independent cinema, and it very much was, it has that 90s indie cinema before it got TM, before it got everything independent had to be either like over the top quirky, too violent, too gritty, too whatever, Miramax, it was just a lot of things happened to independent cinema in a short period of time, but this one really feels timeless to me. In fact, I think I might even love it more now. It almost reminds me of some ways, and don't laugh, but of the Robert Altman Three Women. This movie is not surreal. It's grounded in reality.
Yeah.
But it has that kind of dreamy quality. So Allison Anders had worked on the film Paris, Texas, which is like another kind of seminal independent movie. And one of the ones that I think holds up better, deserty landscapes for sort of the dying dream of, mythic American masculinity.
Yeah.
As a lot of movies do, that's not like an uncommon, theme per se.
What are you going to do with the desert,
Yeah, kind of Sam Shepard in landscape. But she takes those qualities from it, and that makes a very female story, which I think is really fascinating too.
Well, like Trudi's line, I thought there was just nothing out there, but there is something. It's alive.
And at the end, when Shade is trying to convince Trudi to come back home, and she's trying to remind her of the desert, and then she's saying, "No, but I've seen it. It is alive. You were right." It's like Shade had this awakening with Javier, and now she's seen the desert,
Mm-hmm.
And Shade's monologue when they're watching the baby And she's saying she will never know us. She'll never know Laramie, but we'll never know her. There's a part in that scene where Nora kind of is like looking at the adopted mother. Her face is very haunting, and you can sort of imagine what's going through her mind. Some of them being like, please let this be a good person. Are we doing the right thing? Please let this person take good care of her. It's a very special movie, and Deming didn't disappoint. It was a very special town. Being there, I felt the vibe of the movie in the town. If you remember Gas Food Lodging and want to share your thoughts on the movie, please do. I would love to hear more people have discourse about this film. It's such a beautiful film, and it doesn't get talked about enough.
I give it 8 badgers.
Out of how many?
10.
Okay. I would give it 10 badgers.
Okay. All right, I'll give it 9. It doesn't have to end here. Click on one of the videos below for Elvis and more. And we'd love to have you like, share, and subscribe, and maybe even join so we can put some more gas in this thing.